Welcome to Wanaka in the South Island of New Zealand, home to one of the crown jewels of the challenge family of long-distance triathlons. Twice voted the most scenic triathlon in the world, this is the 9th edition of this now iconic event. In 2015, we followed 3 athletes through their bids to become Challenge Wanaka champions. Dylan McNeice, winner here in 2013 and 2014, looking to become the first man to win 3 times here. Dougal Allen made his debut here last year in iron distance triathlon. Can he threaten McNeice and go better than last year's 3rd place? And Gina Crawford, the 5-time winner who slipped to defeat in 2014, she returns for a 7th time, looking to regain the title.
This will be my 7th time racing in Wanaka, and it was one of the first races I did, and I just really loved the race because it's a real challenge. It's actually what I imagined Ironman racing would be when I first started racing, a really individual sport where you don't have anyone around you. It's really all about racing the elements, and you get the wind. Last year it was really, really cold. It can heat up to over 30 degrees on the run. It's just a little bit of everything.
You know, a couple of wins in 2013 gave me a lot of confidence at the time, but I really wanted to prove to myself that I could do it year on year. I know I can do it, so I just got to get out there, do the training I know that works for me, and just relax a little bit more.
I'd become a bit stale with some of the races I traditionally did at this time of the year, mainly the coast to coast, and the opportunities to improve had sort of diminished in my mind a fair bit. So having finished Challenge Wanaka last year, I knew immediately that all 3 disciplines could be improved, and I spend time running on this course often, and I know what I'm capable of, and I'd definitely like to be a bit faster this year. I guess the nature of the human mind is you forget so much about the suffering so quickly, which is probably just as well, or everyone would only ever do one of these races.
Out of the races I've done, it's the 2nd hardest race, and if you're not quite at your fitness, you'll really struggle.
I think you just get a bit more prepared to hurt, I guess. You realise that one day your life isn't that big a deal, and you know, or 4 hours of pain is not really that big a deal either, so you learn to accept that a little bit more.
The record field of competitors are up long before dawn. Ahead lies a 226-kilometre course, which despite its scenic beauty, promises to tax the ability of everyone. The conditions in Wanaka are perfect for the race. No wind, warm air and water temperatures of 18 degrees. Many weeks, months, even years of preparation for both the elite and amateur competitors will conclude with a single blast of an air horn. For Dylan McNeice, this is one of the most significant moments of the race. As he hits the water, he does so with confidence. McNeice is one of the best swimmers in long-distance tri, and if he performs well, he can set himself up for a great race. It's an ability that he's cultured from an early age.
I was a swimmer for many a year, competitive swimmer from about the age of 9 to 19, and I always found it pretty boring. I missed a lot of sessions. I wasn't the best trainer in the world, but my mum kept me at it. You know, at the time I hated her for it, but you know, she was like, no, it'll be good for you in the future, and sure enough, it's sort of worked out really well. And I've always been a surfer, so I think that's why I'm pretty comfortable in the open water, and have managed to transfer that pool swimming into the open water as well. If you saw me training in the pool, I look completely different. If I'm just cruising along, I breathe, usually breathe every 3, so bilaterally. But when I get into a race, I breathe only to my right, and I kind of have a bit of a swoop, I guess, and it's just what's most comfortable for me when I'm racing. In a triathlon, you have to sight the swim boys as you're going, so I find it easy just to look up when my left arm's coming around, and so I always breathe to my right and check where I'm going when my left arm's coming around. So it's just kind of a habit now, and it feels natural and good, so I'm not going to change it.
As the first lap progresses, McNeice opens a decent gap and the pressure moves to the chasers, who must hold on to him. The 25-year-old Australian Michael Fox is swimming well in second, 20 metres ahead of local athlete Braden Curry. The 28-year-old multi-sporter from Wanaka is displaying an ability in the water which comes as a surprise to many. Behind the front three, there's a bunch of 8. And in there are some of the strongest of the male challengers. And as in previous years, Gina Crawford is right with them. This is where she gets her mental game in order, as leading from the front requires a specific focus.
Every time I race, I sort of just try to focus on myself, especially with this race. It is so tough that, I don't tend to look too hard at who I'm racing, and that the biggest factor in this race is the conditions. For me, especially coming back from last year where I struggled a little bit, and it's a great field, and it's good to see those numbers going up each year, and it's good to be racing some new people I haven't raced against before, so yeah, it's going to be tough, I'm sure.
Back on the shore, and it's the turn of the age group athletes to get underway. These are the full distance competitors. In addition, there's a half distance and a team event, and this is what Challenge is all about: participation and providing a platform for people to build on. Over the next 12 hours, a record field of 1,500 athletes from 23 nations will battle their way through the 226-kilometre course. There's a saying in triathlon that you can't win the race in the swim, but you can lose it. Dougal Allen is well aware of that. He's new to the sport, and the swim is his Achilles heel. He made his debut here last year when he was 16 minutes behind McNeice out of the water, and he's on for a similar time this year.
There's a big expectation that I've gone away for a year, and I've made every effort to get my swimming 10 minutes faster, which, I could chase 30 seconds to a minute in the swim every couple of months with improvement gains, where I feel the real opportunities for improvement for me were actually on the bike and the run. I'd like to think that my swimming's improved 5 or 6 minutes. It probably hasn't improved quite that much, but I've put in the time and effort to do it. But it's not to say that I haven't actually had a real focus on my bike run as well.
By comparison, as McNeice swims through the field of age groupers, he is on track for a new record swim time.
I've loved it here the last couple of years coming out of the water. I just felt so fresh and just been excited to get on the bike and get going. So it can, if you're hurting, it's not a good feeling to know you've got a 180k bike and a marathon in front of you when you're already struggling out of the water. But generally here I've been in good shape and coming out of the water just excited to get on the bike.
For the third consecutive year, Dylan McNeice is the first athlete onto the beach. He exits the water in a new record time of 45:33.
It's easier in a sense racing at the front, it gives you a bit of a lift and stuff, and people got to chase you. But also, for me, I just like the fact that I can swim my own pace, get out on the bike, and then ride my own pace. Yeah, it's not necessarily a strategy that I plan, it's just my strength, so I have to play to them.
But McNeice is far from safe. Michael Fox exits the water 2 minutes and 45 seconds behind, and surprise package Braden Curry impresses with a time of 50 minutes for the 3.8-kilometre swim. Gina Crawford's bid to regain the Challenge Wanaka title is off to a great start as she exits the swim in 50 minutes and 55 seconds, almost 6 minutes clear of the next pro woman. It's good news and bad news for Wanaka's Dougal Allen. He's a minute quicker out of the swim than in 2014, but the bad news is he's 17 minutes and 8 seconds behind leader McNeice, almost exactly the same gap as last year when he finished third. For Dylan McNeice, it's the familiar situation of racing on the front. He's been here before and won twice before, but every year is different. Behind him is Red Bull athlete Braden Curry, and he's riding quickly through these early kilometres. The question hanging over Curry is just how long and how fast he can go. It's only 7 days since Curry raced and won New Zealand's Coast to Coast, a 220-kilometre mountain race crossing the Southern Alps. Effectively, he's attempting 2 iron distance events in a week. Just behind Curry are pro athletes Carl Reed and Luke Martin. Ahead of him is Michael Fox. By the 50-kilometre mark, the chasers have pulled back almost a minute and a half on Dylan McNeice. As the end of the first lap approaches, Braden Curry's efforts of a week ago are starting to show. On the outskirts of Wanaka, with almost 100 kilometres of the bike completed, he's caught by Matt Burton and Courtney Ogden. Incredibly, they aren't the only ones making gains. Dougal Allen has ridden through the first 100 kilometres at a blistering pace. Just before the 100k special needs area, Allen passes Curry and moves into third. However, while Curry receives his special needs bag, Dougal Allen rides through without his. This could have serious implications for his race, as the bag contains all his critical nutrition.
The mistake I think I made last year was, as soon as I got on my bike, I wanted to see minutes to the leaders reduced. I don't feel this year that I'll be chasing those minutes in the first half of the bike. You know, it's such a cliche, but it's really not over until the finish line, and I can see myself winding things up towards that second half of the race rather than sort of fading as so many athletes can do in this style of racing. If I'm out there on my own in the swim, the bike and even the run, it'll be nothing new to me, and I've got enough kind of experience, I guess, time trialling individually to know that I could still perform well in that situation.
In the women's race, Gina Crawford is sitting comfortably at the front of the field. She's raced this event 7 times and is no stranger to being out front. For the chasing pros behind her, this is pretty much going as anticipated.
Of course, definitely my favorite pick will be Gina.
I mean, certainly she would be foolish to say she was anything but the favourite.
Obviously, she's dominated this race in the past. She's won it either 5 or 6 times, and I know that she's very hungry to take the win back again this year.
However, there are a number of very strong girls here racing, and I think it's just about how the day unfolds for everyone. Anything can happen in long distance racing. I really believe that.
My perception pre-race is that all of us will be kind of chasing after Gina all day, and whether or not one of us catches her, we'll have to wait and see.
Coming through Wanaka to complete the first lap of the cycle, Gina leads by almost 8 minutes. At the halfway stage of the bike, Gina leads by 8 minutes. In the men's event, Dougal Allen is chasing down Dylan McNeice and setting up an epic battle on the run.
A lot of people make that mistake that they are racing everyone else around them, but it's a long day. You need to race on your limits, no one else's. Wanaka, hometown advantage basically. I've got quite a few friends that are driving around here and there and stopping and cheering me on, and A few ex-triathlete guys and cyclist guys who are yelling out time splits from here and there, and it's a good feeling to know if you're going well, but it's a bad feeling to know if they're closing in on you pretty quickly.
As the two lead athletes head back into Wanaka to complete the second and final lap of the cycle, there are just a few metres between them, and another record has been broken. Dougal Allen has ridden the 180-kilometre bike stage in 4 hours 30 minutes, 17 minutes faster than Dylan McNeice. Dylan McNeice set a swim record to establish his lead. Dougal Allen set a new bike record to claw it back. As the two athletes set out onto the run, both know that a victory at Challenge Wanaka is within their grasp. It all comes down to who can run the quickest marathon.
Got this!
I probably do the bike course and the run course twice a week minimum. So yeah, I know it really, really well. It's probably not as much as an advantage in this style of racing as it can be in multi-sport and adventure racing courses, but it's got to be an advantage.
Run speed, I'd say, is not my strength. I've got a decent marathon on me, but I'm not the fastest out there, but it's good enough to, generally good enough to hold on for hopefully a win here and there, and my running strength is its strength, not its speed. So like a course like this with a few hills and off-road and stuff, it suits me.
I put a lot of trust in my coach. I've got a local coach, Phil Burke, who lives in Wanaka, who has coached me for 6 or 7 years now. My job, as I see it, is really just to tick all the boxes, which I've managed to do all summer. There's no excuses on the weekend, that's for sure.
The race for third and fourth place has come down to a battle between the veteran and the young gun. Less than 5 minutes separate Courtney Ogden and Braden Curry. At 42 years old, Ogden knows how to run a race. Braden Curry has youth on his side, but the effect of 2 intense physical challenges in just 7 days is a huge burden on his body. Gina Crawford completes the cycle in 5 hours and 12 minutes. As she racks her bike and heads out onto the run, she has a 6 minute and 40-second advantage over Laura Siddle, who's back in second, and almost 10 minutes on Michelle Bremer in third. For Gina, this race is the culmination of over a year of work. After struggling with pain and injury in 2012 and 13, Gina took on a new coach and set about completely overhauling her technique. At Challenge Wanaka last year, the process wasn't complete. This year, she hopes it will be.
I have to work very hard to get into the shape where I'm going to be successful, but the run has been a process all year. I went to Europe, I had some great results over there, and then to Kona and another top 10 finish, but it's definitely still a lot of work to do, especially on the run. Having Challenge Wanaka a month later than usual has been really great because I'm just so much fitter than I would have been a month ago, and I've also had the opportunity to do a lot of half-distance races. I've done 3 half-distance races to prepare for this race, so that's been a really great way to prepare for this.
As the end of the marathon approaches, it looks like Dylan McNeice has the measure of Dougal Allen. Over the first 21 Ks, Dylan McNeice is 3 minutes faster than Dougal, and as the kilometres tick past, it looks increasingly like Dougal Allen has no response left. After a phenomenal effort on the bike, Allen can only hold his pace and makes no inroads into the 3-minute gap. Though Curry has pulled back 2 minutes on Courtney Ogden, experience looks to have had the advantage over youth in the battle for third. Ogden leads Braden Curry by 3 minutes as they enter the final 10 kilometres, and the exertion is clearly visible on Braden Curry's face. Dylan McNeice will be feeling a whole lot better as he heads for the line.
You know, I didn't want to be a one-year wonder guy, so I really wanted to prove to myself more than anything that I could, you know, do it year on year. I think the main thing for me is that I can get so many of my friends come down from Christchurch and my family, and just having them out there supporting me is awesome. And you know, even on a bad day, I think they'll give me so much more. And you know, I just love not only racing for myself here, and obviously the course is just amazing, but just love racing for my friends and family too.
Dylan McNeice crosses the line in a time of 8 hours, 37 minutes and 14 seconds, becoming the first man to complete a hat-trick of wins in this tough, iconic event. Just under 3 minutes behind McNeice comes Dougal Allen, though he can only wonder what might have been if he'd improved his swimming or achieved his nutrition plan. The Wanaka local goes one better than 2014 to secure a gutsy second place in only his second iron distance event. And on top of that podium finish, he becomes the new record holder for the bike leg. Courtney Ogden holds off Braden Curry to take third place, not quite equaling his best ever second place finish, but a good result for the 42-year-old Australian. For Gina Crawford, it looks like her rejuvenation is complete. After the disappointment of losing here for the first time last year, Gina enters the finish chute in Wanaka with a lead of 11 minutes and 55 seconds over the chasers. For Crawford, this is a reassertion of her dominance in this race, making it 6 wins from 7 appearances, and confirmation that her performance improvements are heading in the right direction.
I felt really good actually until the last 10Ks. I got told to take it a little easier to save my legs, and then that's when it really starts to hurt. When you start to slow down, it gets worse and worse. So the last 10Ks was pretty uncomfortable, but apart from that I really had a good day and I enjoyed it.
Laura Siddle takes second place in the women's race, 11 minutes and 55 behind Crawford, and Michelle Bremer crosses in third, 9 minutes later. For Dylan McNeice, this performance marks a new standard at this event and also the start of a new phase in his career.
This year I've decided to, you know, bit of a gamble I guess, but he'd try and qualify for Kona. Wanaka will always be on my schedule. Just love the race too much to ever let it go. To be honest, I think that if I can keep winning Wanaka, or at least keep performing here with, you know, better fields and stuff, and then doing well at Kona, I think that'll be a good balance in my career and hopefully build sponsorships and profile and yeah, go from there.